Magical Queers. My name's Anthony Perdue, aka El Taino Negro, aka Butch Queen Teacher Artist, aka The Magical Queer. Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Magical Queer. Since this first episode is going to be all about the debut, it's a series that I worked on last summer. It's a series of paintings that I worked on for honestly over a year. So I'm super excited to introduce myself to you all through this story that I'm going to talk you all through using a bunch of paintings. So welcome to story time with the Magical Queer. Time to find out what happened with the debut. It all began in the forest of lavender trees, where queer children are reborn after being separated from their families by a monster known as the Hate, a terrible beast that takes over the minds of their families. As a way to fight the Hate, the fairies that watch over the forest use dust from their wings to gift all the reborn queer children with magical powers. Although they are gifted with magic from the fairy dust, each queer child must first experience true love before they can manifest their magic. This is the story of one queer child who was reborn in the forest of lavender trees and how they got their magic powers to manifest. This is the story of the magical queer, Butch Queen. When he was born, Butch couldn't manifest his magic. His body was weak and he bruised easily. He couldn't remember much from before, but he felt full of warm energy. His magic was definitely inside of him, although it was fractured and dormant, waiting for the day when he would manifest his powers. When he asked the fairy watching over him, "Why won't my magic come out?" she replied, "There is too much hate in this world for magical children like you. When you find true love in this world, then your magic will manifest." That night, Butch spoke to God. She ruled over the earth with grace and love, guiding all the living beings down below through her many orishas. They were like angels supporting people on earth through the many elements. However, God's name was Alofi, and she was the goddess of creation. Alofi came to Butch in his dream, lifting him way into the heavens. In his dream, she said but one thing: to manifest your magic, you must go and see the world. The next day, Butch woke up to a surprise. He had been transported to New York City. As he opened his eyes, he first noticed a long golden do-rag elegantly draped over the head of another queer person. They spoke and Butch learned his name. It was Bro Punzel, and he was a rap artist telling the stories of queer life in the area. As the two spoke, he learned from Bro Punzel the ways of queer people. Some of it was sad, some was inspiring, but Butch was young and really just wanted to have fun. From the fashion, the parties, and the sparkles, Butch enjoyed it all. It wasn't until one day he found a girl looking into the self-love mirror. They say that the self-love mirror is a magical artifact designed to reflect back the viewer's magic ability. It was created to help people find love within themselves. This is the opportunity that Butch Queen was waiting for. As Butch gazed into the self-love mirror, he found himself connecting with his queer Ori. One's Ori is their mental relationship with their spirit. It's almost like a reflection of your inner self. As Butch saw the bare face of the queer Ori, he also saw a queen that had been suppressed by the hate of the world. It was at this moment that another Orisha arrived. He could see her through the rainbow orb on the head of the Ori. Oshun had appeared before him, radiating from her opulence. Butch noticed her cowrie shells connected to a gold-plated necklace. She also wore gold-plated earrings that draped over her shoulders. She was the definition of opulence. She appeared with a message for Butch Queen. You must first connect with your ancestors, the people who you inherited your magic from, before you can find true love. Only they can show you the way. So pray to them, offering light and love. As Butch began to pray, he asked for guidance and in exchange offered light and love to his ancestors. In exchange for his prayer, Butch received courage, strength, and love. He had prayed for a love that would help him find his magic powers. And when he opened his eyes from his prayer, he noticed that he had been transported to an island called Puerto Rico, known by the indigenous people as Boriquen. Butch woke up to the sounds of waves on a beach. As he opened his eyes, he noticed a man with art all over his body, a resistance flag on one arm, indigenous writing on the other. He must have been some kind of soldier because he held a big circular shield with a plant-like crest. His name was Eliezer, a warrior from Boriquen. Over the course of a few years, Butch and Eliezer would become the best of friends. Oshun and his ancestors had sent Butch to Boriquen to learn how to love oneself and one's family from Eliezer. To love means to be brave enough to fight for, protect, and nurture what you consider yours. When Butch's time on Boriquen came to a close, he traveled to a city in America called Newark. By this time, Butch had reached his 20s. It was a cold time filled with many storms and lonely nights. He was still unable to manifest his magic, but at least he made some cool friends along the way. She wore a skull and crossbones necklace that represented freedom. Her name was Juju. She taught Butch the love of freedom and joy, but also elegance and grace. She was such a loving person, especially with her dog companion. He was like a cherry blossom in the winter, bringing light and life to Juju during the cold days of her 20s. It wasn't long until Butch got his own doggy companion whose name was Riley, a fluffy black dog who taught Butch Queen all about unconditional love. As Butch Queen reflected on all those who had poured love into them over the years, they began to manifest their magic. The magic of creation. They had begun to use they-them pronouns after awakening the divine masculine and divine feminine energy that existed within them. They had found self-love, the best love, the truest love, and become the magical queer. Just as soon as Butch Queen had manifested their powers, the hate attacked. The hate was a three-headed dog created from the hateful emotions and actions of humans across the globe. Each head represented another way in which humanity had perpetuated hate. Patriarchy, ableism, classism, colonialism, racism, and of course queerphobia. There was the blind head, representing humanity's blindness to the beauty of differently abled people. There was the demonic head, representing queerphobia. And then the man's head, representing classism, patriarchy, colonialism, and racism. Fire fell from the sky, and you could hear roars of a giant beast. It wasn't until the magical queer created the Sword of Love through their creation magic that they could fight off the hate. The Sword of Love was a weapon forged with the love of self, friends, and family. The battle over the city was tough, but by defeating the hate, the magical queer was able to restore their family that had been taken away by the hate. Once the hate fell, the magical queer was reminded of their family's connection to the city of Newark, the island of Boriken, and the continent of Africa. They were reminded of the laughs and games with their siblings, the meals and chats with their mother, and the co-creation of art with their father. It was only with the power of love that the magical queer was able to manifest their magic. The power to create magical queer art. Hey, and thank you for enjoying and listening and checking out Magical Queer Art, the debut, the story of the magical queer Butch Queen. So thank you. I am the magical queer, the Butch Queen. And so I hope you all enjoyed this story. It's all about relationships I have with my family and friends and really coming to understand my queerness through the way that I've come to understand love through them. And some of that's messy, some of it was cute. But ultimately, the truest form of love is self-love. And so that's really where it starts. And that is where I have arrived in this story of like getting to know myself, understanding how my own gender works and how I like to express it, how I like to live it. If you liked the story of the magical queer, if you liked some of the paintings that you saw, you can find some of them at the Maplewood Arts Center in Maplewood, New Jersey at the 1978 Maplewood Arts Center, 1978 Springfield Avenue, Maplewood, New Jersey. The paintings are up in the gallery there, and they are for sale, some of them. And so if you are interested, go check out the gallery. I will put the information right here. I also got to show y'all this because opening reception was on June 4th and I ate the girls up. Okay, me and all my friends. So I started Pride 2022 at the Say Gay Artist Activism exhibit where my stuff was on display. Yes, I ate the girls up. Peep the fit, peep the shoes, peep the pants, peep the shirt, peep the bag, peep the necklace, peep the earrings, peep the hat. Yes, and say hello to my mama and my dad. That's where I get it from. I can't even say I wasn't nervous. I was real nervous. I was probably sweating under the outfit. But oh my God, boy, did me and my friends look good. Oh my God, look at us. Look at me and EC. So yeah, I was a real art baddie at that gallery, period. Maybe the word arrived wasn't the best word earlier because this is only the beginning. The debut and the story of the magical queer is really just that. It's the debut, it's the beginning. This is just it. We're just getting started. This whole YouTube channel is gonna have a ton of cool, fun things that I'll be doing. Really, whatever I want. But like for real, low-key, whatever I want. So Black Bodies in Nature is going to be an exhibit where we'll have different spaces where young Newark artists will be displaying their artwork that they have been working on all summer, myself included. And you'll be able to buy some art from the artists. We'll have some pop-up shops as well, so you'll be able to get like crystals, plants, and some books and some other cool things. We'll have music, we'll have food that you can get as well. And so there will really be like a ton of different things for you to explore, but mainly just centering around checking out the artist's work and engaging in a conversation around Black bodies in nature, around environmental justice, environmental racism in our community, Just so that you know it's real, check out a little bit of clips from me and my magical queer interns working on some artwork that we are cooking up. The second project that I've been working on, and this is a art project I've been working on for a couple months, low-key the year. It was in my brain all year, and so I'm gonna say I've been working on it all year, even though I only really started to put momentum and like physical movement to it in like March. So I'm gonna claim that I've been working on it for a year because I have. Cognitive work is work. I live in Newark, New Jersey. I love my city dearly, but my city gives me a lot of anxiety because the gun violence is out of control. And as someone who grew up here, who has experienced gun violence here, I don't mess with it. And so I was talking to my therapist about like what I should do, and she recommended that I do an art project. And I had this art project in mind already that I hadn't started. And so essentially what I have done, and I did this with the support of a bunch of my students, essentially what I've done is create a bunch of human-shaped sculptures out of tape and saran wrap that are stuffed with recyclable goods. And each of them has a little message about gun violence on the chest. And it's gonna be for a little anti-gun violence campaign, hashtag stop the shooting. I'll show you some clips of us putting those things together, and you can find them on the streets of Newark coming soon. In essence, thank you for joining me on this YouTube journey. Thank you for watching The Magical Queer, episode number 1. And just, giving me that attention, giving me that time. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I hope that this YouTube channel offers you a lot. I hope it offers you light. I hope it offers you peace. I hope it offers you some love. As you continue to watch. So definitely subscribe down below. And thank you for popping into the first episode of The Magical Queer.